was a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius.
There it is. Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Spence. It's Friday, May 1st. Wow. May 1st, 2026. I honestly, I met my friend Sam for lunch on my regular Wednesday date. And I remarked to him, how is it that it's already Wednesday? Because we just had lunch 5 minutes ago. I really feel like that's the case. I don't know if it's feeling fast to you, but whatever the case may be, we're making progress. We're already coming up on beautiful weather. Today is one of those days that gives me hope that Chicago is going to have summer very soon. Hopefully you feel the same way. Also, in keeping with my goal, good morning, Lloyd, with keeping with my goal to keep it simple. Today is very focused. I've prepared a slideshow. We're going to talk about how to create your virtual persona in minutes and why you need one in 2026. Obviously, there's a lot of technology that I'm able to share with you now, and it's really coming together amazing. I'll give you some sneak peeks as to the improvements. Everything from the interface with Fernando all the way down to some of the new products that are actually being released. But we've really achieved finally is a platform solution where now you, as well as your customers, can start just using the tools as you wish. And even if it's for the basics, which I'm going to discuss at the end, of achieving what you would normally have to pay for, the MinuteLaunch system is the best way to go. We literally have a stack of stuff plus a key that allows you to utilize really all of the open router options that you might have dreamed of. And as I'll show you at the end of the show today, I was able to do a test with Fernando in the desktop mode where I was using one of the new free, as in buy a beer free, no, I'm kidding, as in free models that is essentially able, with your chooser in Fernando, to build and code as well as I was getting out of Opus. I'll explain what that means in a couple minutes. Let's start with the basics today because I want to stay on track. And today I'm going to try and experiment. Because this is a slideshow, I'm going to do and show different things, but I'm going to see whether or not I can pull this one off. This is interesting. Let me see if I can pull off presenting the slideshow while I'm actually working from the interface here. And then as necessary, I'll go to the bigger screen. So let me do the little dance, make a little love. I'm going to get down tonight. Also, which would be really neat if I could. Wonder if the Chrome tab will allow me to do this. Let's see what this looks like. This is interesting, but I've lost my view. Sorry, kids. Like whenever I do this, that's not too bad. I've lost my ability to see what I'm looking at. That is my only problem. Hold on one second. Oh, this is pretty good, actually. All right, so let's start out with today's presentation, and then I'm going to move into the happy hour portion of the show, which is the extra bonuses, okay? And if you guys have coffee, jump in. Hi, Julie. Good morning. First of all, I want to explain something which is worth mentioning. This won't bother you, I hope. I'm just going to leave this up on the top here. Hold on. Maybe I can hide it with just some CSS. Display none. Okay. It's just distracting me. Why do we need a virtual persona? Well, whether you're a business owner, a coach, an agency, you need one because what we're dealing with now is a different algorithm, as we'll talk about in a second, from YouTube, from Google, from everybody who's trying to learn from you. We've got a couple problems going on that I'll go into in detail, one of which is that the people who are actually consuming your content are not really people. And I'm just going to adjust this because I think I can. Sorry, I hate when people do this to me, but I'm doing it to you just because there's got to be a better layout than what I'm seeing. This is just a StreamYard issue. I'm going to go with this one for now. Okay. Here's the 4 points as to why you need it. Number one, the audience that you actually have, they're scrolling past text. I know that you understand this because we're all basically in the same boat, that we're in a world right now where attention is probably your highest and best commodity, but the attention that you're getting is not necessarily coming from a real person anymore. It literally may very well be coming from their agentic partner, their Fernando. And as a result of that, you have to take in consideration that if you do get a human being, they're just not going to pay attention if you don't have something visual. I am one who does not prefer to use TikTok, but when I use something like Instagram, I notice that I'm like a dog watching a shiny ball, just whoa, 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 whoa. And I find myself spending hours scrolling. So the idea is visual wins over text. Number two, it's really hard, take it from me, to get in front of a camera every day. Somebody commented to me, Spence, I love your videos, but why are you in that silly office, living room space, whatever the hell that is you're in, the studio? And I said, because I realized over time, being Casey Neistat or Mr. Beast or somebody who runs around all day with a camera is not sustainable for a 59-year-old adult. It wasn't sustainable when I was 50. I have a life and I have kids, and I have no desire, to be frank, to run around with a camera like some of these influencer types. And so I'm not begrudging those who are full-time YouTubers, but good morning, Claude. But I personally can't sustain that. And I would imagine that you feel similarly. It's really, really difficult to spend your days and weeks in front of a camera, let alone trying to do it when, you're trying to produce some content that's meaningful. Next is hiring a video team is, I would say for most of you guys and for me, not even a beginning. Good morning, Vincenzo. Buongiorno. Let me see too. My StreamYard has given me fits. So there he is. Vince is in the house. That it's really unrealistic. Vince and I have a friend. His name is Christo. He's a very capable photographer. Even somebody who's a friend, it's really difficult to schedule the time for the third person to follow you around. It's a budget. It's just not realistic to have that as part of your agenda, let's just say. As far as the brands that are winning it, they're the ones that have a consistent voice and a face. So now I may do a lot of stuff really badly, and I admit it in public. I am figuring this out as we go. I've been doing it this way for 49 years. Since my first entrepreneurial endeavor, which you guys famously know, is Spencer Foreman, the porn king of Camp Menominee, at 10 years old. Well, I figured it out then by playing it by ear, and I'm figuring it out now. And one of the things that I can tell you is that's okay. As long as you're consistent, you keep showing up, and you keep doing the thing that makes you a human being in a world now of bots. So I at least know that when I'm doing this gig here, other than me futzing around with StreamYard endlessly, because just StreamYard is torturing me, I show up every day, right? I just show up in my videos, in the blog posts, in the content that I make, and here on Fridays, definitely show up. Let's go on to the next slide. The reason I'm distracted is one of the things that I am using right now is I'm using StreamYard, and I got to be honest with you, their interface makes me want to jump off a bridge sometimes, because when you try to fix it or zoom in on it, each of the components move differently. So I accidentally removed the thing that I'm using to navigate the slideshow to the point where I couldn't see it anymore. So forgive me. All right. What is the tool that you can now use? Well, I have not released this yet, but I'm releasing it probably today. This is MinuteLaunch Persona. MinuteLaunch Persona is going to be super duper duper exciting. Here's why. Let me actually, oh man, I wish I didn't have to do this, but I'm going to switch to sharing the browser so that I can actually show you this. One of these days, either I'll switch off of StreamYard or I'll do something else. But one of these days, I'll be able to make it that I can just show you this stuff without bouncing around the screen. Now I have to go to this mode, which is fine. This is MinuteLaunch Persona. And MinuteLaunch Persona is a tool that I built specifically to solve the problem of making it easy for any of us to have an endless stream of characters, whether it be a real character ourselves, whether it be a fake character. Like, let's be honest, I know you were fooled, but Fernando is not real. Fernando is not real. He is a hybridization between myself and Ricardo Montalban, a very famous actor whom I do not have the rights to use as a business. So I made a hybrid between myself and him. And the reason is that this becomes the friendly voice, face, persona, and everything else that I am going to need in order to solve those 4 problems of me not being able to sit in front of the camera, me not being able to make, interesting text-based stuff and so forth. So let me show you, because I'm going to pull him up on the screen here, a couple things that are really kind of fun. And forgive me again, because I always have to do a little dance here. What am I going to do? Okay. Couple things I want to do is, let me drag Fernando out here. This is, let's see. Okay. I don't know if the audio comes through on this, but I've got a series of things that I created. This one's weird because I don't say it right. I'm going to show you in a second what all of this means. But essentially what I'm trying to suggest to you is I have a couple things going on. I have the Fernando persona, and I have the Spence version of the Fernando persona. Why do I have a version of myself? Well, because what I actually intend to do is to minimize the amount of time that perhaps I need to spend in person doing some of the things that, while it's not disingenuous, would allow me to be on screen, but be on screen in a way that is more sustainable, more realistic. And one of the reasons that I'm going to show you how to do that is because I think we're reaching the point where it can be good enough. And hold on, I wish I had prepared this a little better. I want to show you the couple different styles here. This is, let's see what this one is. I was doing a bunch of tests, and one of the things that I wanted to show you, but I'll come back to this, is I am able to create a virtual person who can have a voice and the words that I need. There's no sound. Yeah. I think because StreamYard is not set up to share the sound from this, which God forbid if I try to do that. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll just give you links to the actual videos that you can listen to, because right now I'm worried if I try to share the sound, I'm going to break this show. Let me see though, just for shits and giggles. This is, we're back into Spence getting distracted like a shiny object, and I'm worried that if I do that, I'm going to break it. So I'm not going to do it. Just understand the voice of what's going on here is it sounds like basically Ricardo Montalban, but it's been changed enough that I'm in fair legal territory. Okay, so it's like, hello, Tattoo, welcome to Fantasy Island. If you watched any of the shows that Ricardo Montalban was on, it's got that nice, deep baritone Latino male actor voice, which really sounds good for what I'm trying to achieve here. Let me go back to the slide, though. So the way that I've created this persona of Fernando is I'm using the MinuteLaunch Persona tool, and I'm going to show you in the thing itself. I'm able to upload a reference image. This can be a real person or real persons. You can make a hybrid using MinuteLaunch itself, which is what I did here. And then I use the voice capabilities of either ElevenLabs or a thing called Fish.audio. Both of them are built into the tool of ML Persona to choose from a voice or make a voice. Then the tool can create the lip synced video, either a full body shot or not. And then you can also do all of this stuff in-house. So let's walk through it together with MinuteLaunch Persona. Step number one for Fernando, and this is Fernando here. Fernando was created by essentially creating the base image. What is it that I'm going to do? And in order to do that, what I started with is I went into MinuteLaunch and I used the tools that are available to me in MinuteLaunch. Let's go there. In the media library, I was able to create an AI image. So the way you do this is you can choose two sources. If you want to do like I did, where you mix two things together, you could take A and B together and hybridize them. So for example, let's say I took this image of me, okay, and I could take another image of somebody else. And what I did in this case is it took me a few efforts, but I took a picture of Ricardo Montalban. And by the way, this shouldn't be like any really big secret, because this is how you can do stuff legally. And you know, you put A and B together and it's C. This is just the creative process, right? So I took this picture of Ricardo Montalban, and this isn't the actual thing I did, but I'm going to show you. I have too many tabs open, I can tell already. I added the image of me, then I added Ricardo Montalban, and I gave instructions. And I said essentially something like, I would like to merge these two guys together into one. He should be like a mid-50s, very friendly guy wearing a white button-down shirt and have the orange background. Have him facing at the camera, have him photorealistic. And you can improve the model using some of the tools. For example, if you go into the prompt builder, you can put in things to make sure that it doesn't look cartoonish, that it doesn't have a weird face. In my case, like I'm going to use this for YouTube. I want it photorealistic. I want it to be a close-up. I want the lighting to be sunny, friendly, vibrant. Okay. It will generate a series of images. Now, it didn't work for me on the first try. I can show you some of the results that I got. I have them over here somewhere. Let's see if I look in this. It wasn't like, oh, I just nailed it the first try. I just did a series of things. And as I went on, let's see if I can go into this mode here. As I went on, it got better and better and better. And I finally found one that I liked. Let's see if this, I don't know how to use this dashboard to show my results. I was thinking that this would give you thumbnails, but it's not real easily. So I'll just show you with what it creates. Okay. So look what it came with this first one. That's like really interesting, but not quite what I wanted. So I would take this and I would iterate it and or change the prompt, right? So in this case, I'm going to say, make him look younger, maybe late 40s, have him look with darker hair on top, whiter sideburns, maybe look like a mature Latino announcer character, kind of like a young Ricardo Montalban, but with some of the characteristics of the first guy. Okay, so you're gonna have to play with this. I'm not kidding you that this is like Vince knows, this is like creating a painting. You know, you put some paint on, you look at it, you stand back, you go back and forth, but it's fun. And if you set this up properly, you can have it just iterate, or just keep going back to the original. And it takes now, with the new version of MinuteLaunch Image Editor, it takes only like 10 to 15 seconds. And by the way, you'll notice, I'll wait till this one is done. You've got the ability to choose automatic or manual image creation LLMs on Open Router, which means that it's not just Gemini Flash and it's not just OpenAI's GPT, which kind of suck now because they're really like fussy. Too many people use them, and so now they're really fussy, because if you have anything that looks like a real person, it says, I don't think so, we're not going to do that. Here, there's no such limitation, which I think is quite honestly fair use. So this is actually pretty good. It's weird. This looks a little like the character, I don't know, it's like the character who played in Back to the Future or something, but you see where it's going, right? So if I took this guy and I just, let's say, copy the image address for now. Now I can go into MinuteLaunch Persona, And let me make this easier so that, okay. I just want to make sure I'm on the right tab. I feel like I'm going to go in here. I was here. Let's create an actor. Here, all I need to do to start is I paste in this URL, or I can download it to my media library. I'm going to give him a name. I'm going to call him Spence Nando. Now, you can actually describe what you want him to be like, or you can just let the AI describe it based upon the pictures. I like letting the AI do it because it's got vision capability, and it recognizes from the photo the attributes that it needs to turn him into a character. So this is really quite good and fun. And I built this as a tool so you don't have to sweat it. A Caucasian male, 50 to 58, with warm beige, sun-kissed complexion. That's what all my friends say. Standing with an upright confidence posture, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, for the talking head clips, you can also put this in here. We have two clips. We have what it's going to make as a body shot, and it's going to make a headshot for use in various types of videos. You can choose the output aspect ratio, right? If I want to do a vertical one, full body shot, great. If I want to choose 1:1, like a square, I can do this. If I want to do horizontal, either way, this is just your default. So I'm going to set this up as like a body shot because you'll see what he does. Next is the actor's voice. This is the fun part. You can choose any of the voices you want that come from either ElevenLabs or that come from this Fish.audio. Now, you do want to put in your key. When you go to your settings, there's an ability for you to put in your own key for ElevenLabs or Fish.audio. I am not going to give you the keys for that. That is a service fee. It's very inexpensive. I think ElevenLabs is literally like a couple bucks a month. 11 Labs price, and Fish.audio is even cheaper. So it's free to do 3 projects, 10,000 credits, free as in don't pay. So for you guys, just use the free one. And Fish.audio is even cheaper, starting at free, and then it's $11. They're very comparable. I like them both, so I used them both, and they're both in the dashboard. Here's what's neat. I've pre-made voices, or you can choose from default voices. So in ElevenLabs, I was able to create and manage all kinds of my own voices, including, by the way, the Spence voice, which you can create for yourself. So this is pretty awesome. I can create my own voice, which I did here. Spencer Foreman. I had the original Ricardo Montalban, which I'm not publicly releasing, that I essentially input from some videos that were online, that were public from, honestly, when he was younger. So I think they're even outside of copyright. But I used that to create a new voice that I tweaked called Fernando 2, so that there's no risk legally of me stepping on anybody's copyright or trademark toes. For me to create a voice, this is what was awesome. ElevenLabs and Fish.audio let you create a voice super fast. You can either design one from scratch, clone your voice with 10 seconds of audio, which is super easy, or you can use this tool, which is what I did. For 5 minutes, by the way, in my plan, you only get one of these. That's why I only have one of them. That's for me. You talk for 5 minutes, and it gives you really, really good match. You can also do this thing, right? You can remix. Okay, so how do I do this with, let's say, an outside person or whatever? You can take what they've given you, or you can take what they have, and you can get an MP3 or an or a WAV clip of it. For example, if I go to youtube.com, and I'm just going to pick any random person. You should not use somebody's voice, of course not. But like, here's Dr. Rhonda Pantrick. I listen to her all the time. Okay. If I, and again, you should not, could not use her voice legally. But if I took her video here, I could do one of two things. I can use a free tool, which, by the way, I've bookmarked here using the MinuteLaunch research. So if I go to MinuteLaunch, and I use my research tool, Hello Kids, I bookmarked it here. There is a free online tool here called YouTube to MP3 Converter. I'll put the link in here in a second. I just paste in her thing and I say, I want a 256 kilobit MP3. It's going to take the whole video and give me an MP3 file. I don't really need the whole video. So all I need is 10 or 20 seconds of that. I either use my built-in desktop clip to just clip 10 seconds, or I can use the online editing tool here to get a smaller clip. When I take that clip, I put it into ElevenLabs to generate an instant voice clone. Now, it is going to ask you to certify that this, in fact, is something that you're allowed to use, right? Now, this is 10 seconds. If I drag this whole thing, and that's way too much audio, but it's probably not going to hurt anything. It might say it's too much. Let's just say it's fine. Okay. Now, again, it's going to churn on this for a second, and then it's going to ask me, do you have the legal rights to use this? And as an attorney, what I can tell you is the answer is yes, as long as you don't release it publicly, because I'm not going to release this publicly. I'm going to edit it slightly as an alternative while it's working on this. Instead of using a real person's voice and turning it into something else, like a remix, you could just use any of the ElevenLabs voices that sound really good. For example, with a deep baritone Latino male voice, Dr. Rhonda, I think I'm butchering her name, original, do not use, okay. They make you certify this, right? And if I save this, this should not be public. You should delete it when you're done. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to make this. I just wanted to show you how to do this. Now, let's say the alternative. I can explore voices and just do things like, for example, female doctor, right? And there's 10,000 different voices in ElevenLabs and Fish.audio, and you can just play it to listen to it, right? Okay, this one sounds really good. If I pressed plus, I can add it to my voices in a specific collection or not. And if this is a paid voice, but like if you use the non-paid voice, which there's plenty of them, you can now choose that from your library. So if we go back over here and I choose a voice, I'm not going to choose a female voice, but I can listen to any of these voices and choose one of them, like a preview of Roger. Okay, let's choose Roger. Now I generate the actor. So let's review real quick. What have I done? I've essentially, I don't know why it said failed, but let's try that again. I've essentially taken an image of myself, an image of another person using the MinuteLaunch Persona. Actually the MinuteLaunch image editor. I've merged it into this very weird looking dude. He looks like, maybe he's more like Mr. Roper from Three's Company. I've taken that and then using the create an actor tool, which in process here, I was able to create an actor. When it's all done, and let's use, here's Fernando too. It will give me a full body shot, and it has a thing in it called edit DNA or analyze. Analyze means that it will take all of the attributes made by the final version of this, and it will put them in a way that is available for future reference so that when we make new videos from this, it knows everything about the character. And if you need to edit them, you can edit it, right? Instead of mid-40s, you could say mid-50s, okay, which is more realistic because I'd like to say I'm in my 40s, but that's never going to happen. Okay. Now, what happens next? With whatever character it is, I can go ahead and make clips. The clips are interesting because these are the things that I can automatically create and post to social. So for example, if I looked at some of the Fernando stuff, here's a clip that I could do anything I want with. that, let's say I put it into the processor and I added subtitles. That could be something that I post instantly using MinuteLaunch Social, for example. I'm not right now using it in this. I'm just simply taking the URL, copying video address. And if I use MinuteLaunch Social, which is, let's go back over to this screen. MinuteLaunch Social is the thing that I've shown you in the past where I can either manually or automatically post this to Twitter or Facebook or anything else. So now I've got Fernando saying something, and I simply would just post this in or use the media library, add it into my thing, and I can say whatever it is that I want to say about it. Fernando says, good morning. Okay. And notice I can also choose from existing posts if I wanted. But if I just do this alone, I could publish now, and it should publish this video along with my comments. I can even do a first comment in there, which is helpful. By the way, as I'll talk about in a second, when you post to things like Twitter, you probably, even though I do, you probably should not put a link in the original post. Apparently, they don't like that. So if I go to Twitter and I wanted to get attention, you say something like blah, 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 link in the first comment, right? But if I go here, here's Fernando says good morning. If I wanted to do the first comment link, I could do that as part of the process. Now, I'll just leave him up here for the sake of argument. Let's do one together and then go back to the slides. So if I go to Fernando, who's my actor, I'm going to say create a clip. I'm going to choose which character to use. I'm not sure if Spence Nando is working, so I'll use Fernando 2. And I could choose a full talking, like vertical. I could do a silent one. I could do a headshot. I could do a 16:9, which is a YouTube video talking. Any of these are clips of this actor doing what I want them to do, which is really easy to programmatically do because your dude on the desktop or Fernando can use this tool. I don't, as a human being, have to be doing this. I can set this up with a series of instructions so that Fernando, my independent operator, is creating these clips and posting them without my help, right? So let's do one together. Let's do 9:16 talking. We'll choose Fernando. Here I could tell him what I want him to say because he's been programmed with the voice that I need. And in order to program with the thing, let's just tell him a script. By the way, notice I put a microphone in so you can even do this without your own microphone, right? Good morning. Let's do it this way. Hold on. Good morning. My name is Fernando. I am speaking to you at office hours. It's my pleasure to meet you. Okay. All I need to do is click go. Now, for this kind of thing, he is not doing any action. You notice that if I had wanted to, I can actually put into the clip action. I could have said, Fernando turns and walks towards the camera, or it's set on a street and blah, blah, blah. Like, for example, Fernando starts out with a zoom in and the camera pulls away into a wide shot. Then Fernando turns to his left and starts walking down an old city street, looking like the back streets of Shoreditch, London. Okay. So if I put that in and then I improve it with AI, I would get a script that essentially, along with the words, could be a full action shot, which is pretty interesting. If you do all this for a client, does that content live in its own instance or workspace separate from my own personal one? Well, this was interesting. Right now, this is set. It's a great question, by the way. This is set up so that the media is saved in the media library. If I were to take on this site, this is ML Personal. If I go into the media library, right now, the content lives in a shared space. There's an argument here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to play it, that I could segregate out all of the media library content and do custom folders. Maybe I'll do that. But what I was thinking more is that if you do this for a client, I would probably set this up as a client separate configuration. Why? Because this could be a real powerful production studio. And if you have multiple clients and you're the one organizing it and you do have segregation, it could theoretically be possible to keep the media library separate, but that's just really hard to do in WordPress, because then you have to do things like everything has to be secure and everything has to be locked down and blah, blah, blah. So I would rather do it obfuscation by segregating it. Just put the client's stuff into a separate WordPress site that the client only owns, or that you spend the extra bucks and do the media production and then output it, save it in the client's dashboard. Because see, here's the thing. Since all of the stuff is saved in the media library, what's really neat about this is that if you make it in your site, you can migrate it using the tools we've already given you. Remember way back when, back in the old days, I created a tool that is called Media Hub. Media Hub allows you to have any of the things that you create saved and shared with a client who has a WordPress installation. So in theory, you could quite literally share a folder of your media library for free or otherwise with a customer, right? Sell media access. I think this would be an interesting way to do it. So in other words, you have all the production on your studio and your site, make the stuff for the clients, and then just share the stuff you create for them using the Media Hub. I think that would work really pretty well. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but all you need to do for this is you just you create a folder, or you use let's take some media here. If I go to the media library, I create a media category. So let's pretend this is a customer. I don't want to create a new media. I want to go into media library. I want to add media category. Let's call this Lloyd. Customer Lloyd. Okay. I'm going to add certain assets in the media library to customer Lloyd, right? So if I go here, I'm going to add this and this and whatever. I'll just add these two. Okay. Bulk action. Interesting. I'll just do quick. I think I have to be in this view to do this. Hold on. I wanted to do bulk categorize, and for some reason it wasn't letting me, so that's fine. Let's add it to the media category of By the way, this is the moment in the show where everybody gets to laugh at Spence, because like I do this for a living. I'm writing the code, and sometimes I struggle with some of the old WordPress stuff. Like where the hell is the quick edit? Apparently it doesn't exist. I'm in the wrong view. So all I was trying to do is do this. Add it to customer Lloyd. Okay. And then I'll add the other one to customer Lloyd too. I normally use a tool that's not in here called Firebird. It's free, which gives a much better interface. So that's why I was struggling, because the normal WordPress stuff doesn't have the easy file management capability. So I'm just going to add these two things to customer Lloyd. Now, if I wanted to, I could use the Media Hub and simply set up a media product to share this, or a free thing. I'll call this Lloyd Stuff. Generate a share key, and I'm good to go, right? In other words, this could be the whole library, or I could be very specific and say just those things that were in a particular category. Okay. So I'll play with this another time, but the idea was that would be a good way to make it work. All right. Let's see if we generated anything out of this. Since you guys can't hear this, I'm going to post this. Copy video address. I'm going to post this in the YouTube. And you guys should be able to see and hear this now. So what? Not bad. Okay. So now what I've done is, let's do what we talked about a minute ago. I've created a new thing. Let's just use MinuteLaunch Social manually still. Let's do a new one. Fernando is in the studio. This is a live production being done during office hours to show how MinuteLaunch Persona works. Okay. And then I'll just simply, again, I can post this to LinkedIn, but I'll just do Twitter. And I'll, again, use the URL because it's just as easy. Add. And here where the first comment is, watch this. Get it now at, and then I put in the link, https MinuteLaunch.com. Okay. Why? Because now I will have the first comment and the video published. And that means if I said something like, check the link below, people will know to look in the comments, but most people will see the comments anyway because it's Twitter, right? Like they'll just see the comments. So let's take a look. If I go to my profile, now I've got Fernando. Here's the link to that if you want for Twitter. You got to turn on the voice here. If you're on Twitter, just turn on the voice. It's there. Notice it says one comment, and notice the comment shows up. So Twitter doesn't apparently penalize that. If you click that, that leads to my stuff. So let's take a pause and go back to the slideshow for a second that I had so dutifully prepared here, but I've lost somewhere in the mix of all my junk. Here we go. What have I just shown you? I took a reference image that I created live from me and another thing. I showed you how you could take somebody's real voice and then put it into ElevenLabs and muck around with it. I didn't actually show how to muck around with it, but the way you muck around with it is if you took a voice that's one of your voices, if we took this one, okay, we can edit the voice and muck around with it. We can give a different description, and we can also change the characteristics of the voice using the tools that are here, okay? I won't go into that too great a detail because the tools here are pretty easy to use, but you can essentially create lots of different versions. You can make it higher or lower or faster or slower or whatever you want. I've got to move this out of the way or I will have to be tortured every time to find which slide it's on. Okay, I'm going to put this to the end. Next is we put it into MinuteLaunch Persona and created an actor and used the tools to generate a lip sync video. No camera, no studio, no production crew. And then we posted it to social. What is the benefit, the convenience for marketing? Well, TikTok, Reels, Shorts, short form videos at scale can be done this way with lots more stuff than I showed you. So for example, I'm going to drag this to the end so it's easier to. If I go to MinuteLaunch Persona and I look at some of the other stuff that I've produced, here is a full body shot of one of the potential clients that I have, her talking in person about a topic. Here's a version of me doing the same thing. Oh, you saw that one. Here's a version of me, full body shot. It doesn't necessarily always look exactly like the real person. So in reality, here's one of my clients, David Burns. This is him talking about his baseball jobs overseas. Guess what? This isn't really David. It was David put into it. Here's, this one's funny. This is my son's mom. She's a CrossFitter. She looks like this, not quite like this, but she sort of laughed at this one because she looks better as far as her arms and stuff in there. Here's a client, Ryan Sheehan. Again, taken where we're showing Ryan using some of the tools I'm about to show you, which is I'm going to make this a little easier to see. We're going to use the new sponsorship tool part, but here's him as, let's say, if he had a sponsor of Coca-Cola. Here's another one. Here's my friend Sam, who doing his best Tom Selleck from a still image, and then showing him at the gym doing yoga poses and stuff like that. Okay. what is the sponsorship part of this? The sponsorship is a feature in here. Let me zoom in again. That I think is going to be quite interesting insofar as it allows for a real or alternative real persona to demonstrate products and services automatically. In other words, let's say it's for the MinuteLaunch product. Let's say it's for a third-party sponsor product. Whichever the case may be, we can create what's called a sponsorship kit. Let me make this a little bigger. Sponsorship kit is something that would allow us to take any actor. Let's take Fernando too. And we create, first of all, a brand guide. That is to say, what's the name, of his product? MinuteLaunch. We say, what's his tagline? Save time and money. I'm just making this up. You can put in all of the things that are important to the AI about what the company or the brand does so that it understands. Now, one of the things that I had done was I had created a brand system here using Fernando that talks about my products and does these things. This is another conversation we'll have. But the idea is if you create a brand kit, this gives the colors, this gives everything that's important for making something happen. Let's actually go back to Ryan because he's got one set up. So for Ryan's Sheehan Racing, we filled this out. We put in the colors. We did some interesting stuff. Next is we can say, what are the assets that an actor has? This is important because if you have a virtual actor, they have a head and a body and feet and hands, and maybe they drive a race car, maybe they're in a computer office, they have a laptop. Where are the places that advertisement could go? It could be like apparel, his racing suit, front, back, center. These are all billboards. His equipment, his racing gloves, his shoes, his car, his pit uniform. If you have no idea what to do, don't worry about it because the AI will do it for you. Let's go to Fernando and let's do the same thing. Actor assets, AI suggestion. It's going to, based on, there's nothing in there, but based on what you say the brand kit has. By the way, Julie, this would be fantastic for the Helise shooting, right? It will suggest all of the potential assets you could have. So he's got apparel, his shirt, his trousers, his belt. These are all places where advertisement or product placement could go. All right. Sponsors. Based upon the character, their demographics, it will intelligently suggest who might be sponsors. Now, you can also make relationships with real human beings using the MinuteLaunch prospecting tools. But for example, if you already know there's various companies that I'm interacting with, you could just put them in manually, right? The name of the company is, WP Fusion, right? And WPFusion.com. And I can put in the colors, software. If I do this and I save it, I have a manual sponsor where the primary colors and whatever could be saved. If I want, I can also research any of these things. So it's going to go out for me, find the list, find out everything it needs so that it now can make whatever is necessary. Notice it picked up the green and the blue. I can also say, suggest more to me. So what have I got? I've got a virtual actor, virtual voice, virtual face turned into virtual assets that have various parts on their body or their environment. Now it's getting the people or the companies who might be interested in putting up sponsorship. Brooks Brothers, Rolex, Tesla, Men's Health. And it can research, or you can have it researched, all of their colors. So notice this found most of the stuff that I need. Now let's talk about composites. This is where the money maker really happens. I've got Fernando and I've got different potential sponsors. Like, let's say the Art of Shaving. I want to make an asset that markets this. Let's do grooming products. I can generate composites of either still images, videos, or long form videos showing Fernando with the various products in the right spot. Think about what I'm saying right now. I'm saying I now am the owner of a movie studio or an advertising firm where I've got a virtual or a real person with their own voice or an artificial voice with sponsors on their various things, creating all of this inside of your little $97 a month WordPress site. Okay. Here's Fernando with the beard. Put the beard on, doing the art of shaving. Okay. Let's do another one for fun. Let's do Fernando doing social media posts. I have not tried this one. Let's do men's health. And by the way, you can just click all zones and it'll go spit them all out really fast. Let's see what his men's health post is going to be. Now, one of the things you can probably figure out is that I've got the image editor built into here. Once I make these, guess what I can do? I can go back to the image editor and I can have the image editor improve upon it, right? So here's Fernando for men's health. It doesn't say anything particular, but that's okay, because if I took this URL and copied the image address, like we just said, I can go back in and using MinuteLaunch. I'm switching sites just because I've already got MinuteLaunch set up here with the image editor. I could use the image editor, create an AI image, and just do a variation of this, right? So add the URL, paste, and I could say, change the background of this guy, show him at a gym working out with machines, and he's very fit, 50-year-old guy, and show him with a couple people at the gym encouraging him on. Make it 16:9 for a YouTube video. Okay. And so I give it a little information about what I want it to change, make it landscape. I can do the prompt builder if I want to really, really, really dial it in, photorealistic. Okay. And then I say, see how I've got it set to auto here? I can choose a model if I want, but I found auto works amazing. And so what I've done now is I've created, I know, Julie, it's amazing, right? What I've done is I've created a virtual persona. I've been able to create brand assets. I've been able to manage who his possible sponsors are, create composites, but then I can further refine the composite, which, by the way, I love this. Copy image. I'll give you guys this. I love this because now I've got something that I can also add back in. But now I've got Fernando essentially cranking it out for men's health. And I think I can actually bring this back in. But what I would do is I'd go back into the suspense getting lost in his clicks again. If I go back into here, you know what I'm just thinking? I need to make a note to self that I would probably want to add or be able to import this, if I can't already, another asset. So I'm not sure how to do this one yet, but I just gave myself an idea, which is note to self, make it that I can further edit and refine composites. That's all I'm going to say for right now, but you can kind of see that that's possible. Next, there's a thing called a cut sheet. A cut sheet is when you have, and Vince knows about this, when you have a client who's a sponsor, you want to show them all the composites for what they could possibly pay for and how much it will cost. Okay. So if I search for sponsors, I can do all sponsors, or I can look through the composites this way. Let's just choose, let's do portrait, full body, mission and story, and let's do men's health. Okay. I'm going to generate a cut sheet just for men's health that shows Fernando. It shows all the various placements along with the pricing you can charge for having stuff created. It shows examples and so forth. Now, this cut sheet is something that'll be editable and the pricing will be editable. But what it's designed for is so that you can immediately print it out, email it, and send it to a customer who's a sponsor. So, for example, Doug Sheehan Racing has got Ryan. There's all these drivers. Julie, you've got all this Elise skeet shooting, the clubs and the individual players. This is a way where you can take any of those skeet shooters and turn them into amazing different things, including with fun stuff or not. And then it can create basically these sorts of outputs. And then the full cut sheet is, I think, for all the possibilities. So in other words, if you put a bunch of cut sheets below, you could have, let's say, multiple actors with multiple stuff sent to one client, right, who's a potential sponsor. The start page is the same thing, but it just generates an awesome, this is something that for the drivers we created, an awesome online page that is ready to be hosted by you or downloaded so you can use it with the MinuteLaunch Canvas block. Why? Because this is what they're going to want to pay for. If, for example, like in Doug's case, he's got drivers who's basically using Doug's firm as their PR person. This is a PR thing so that there's a public page and a gallery ready to go of all this stuff. And let's publish it together. Let's, for example, I could do this one of two ways. I could just right click and copy the HTML, or I could download the HTML. And now this HTML is what I've been talking about forever and ever and ever. This is stuff that's fully transportable. So if I put it inside of a page, I think I probably want to make this one click easy. I could, for example, go into their website or my website, and I make a new page, add page, and I'll call it Fernando the Star. No, I would call it Fernando Foreman. Okay. And then I would do MinuteLaunch Canvas block, publish, toggle all the goodies. And what have I got now? I've got essentially something that Fernando Foreman as a client, here it is, would probably pay for, but he wouldn't be paying out of pocket for long. Why? Because what's the goal is essentially to have Fernando get sponsors, and sponsors who are going to pay Fernando through me as an agency enough money that he no longer has to worry about paying for my very healthy monthly cost as his agent, as his PR. I can essentially create unlimited Fernando stuff and give him essentially a fan page. By the way, worth mentioning is a sneak peek to something I don't want to get off on today because we're doing pretty well with me staying on topic. If we were to go over to MinuteLaunch Learn, which is a product that I was discussing with you guys before, MinuteLaunch Learn has the capacity to do built-in merch, which is a product that I'm also releasing separately. That is to say, any particular doctor or product, let's use a different one like Marnie or something, can have their own shop optionally that sells their merch. It can also be used to sell their promotion, their spokesperson, their ability to be for a particular sponsor. So these things all work together. One of the goals, and I want to just say this clearly now, one of the goals that I didn't realize when we started this, but it's really becoming clear, is that you can see what I've done here, with the exception of ElevenLabs Voice, which is going to be actually built in through an API. I never had to leave the ecosystem of the $97 or $197 a month MinuteLaunch. Every single thing that was done in a closed ecosystem. And then per Lloyd's question, even if I'm sharing or promoting or saving or pushing, all of the stuff that I need to do can be done to a client or a customer through the web pages, through email, through text, through putting it on the site. I am not needing to go to 500 different things. And the bigger benefit is I have full ownership, I have full control over all of these assets and media, whether it be for myself or for my client. Let's do a couple more magic tricks and round this off. So I just want to finish this slide because I think it's relevant. MinuteLaunch Social is the thing that allows us to take this content, including what I just did with like the cut sheets or the composites, and share them. What turned me on to this idea was on Instagram, I told you about this a week ago or so. On Instagram, this is like Spence, the shiny ball syndrome, because I only have 3 things here. Oh, by the way, my son Zach is getting into the game. So we're going to talk about him with our new product that we're doing together, which is this Closet Wish product. But I only get 3 things here. I get like friends and family. I get things about training your back with exercises, or I get, well, maybe Gen X or stuff. And then I get AI generated women. I think it's just the nature of who I am. But like AI, probably real. That's my sister. Real. But like, depending on where I go into it, Gen X, depending on where I go into it, I was seeing like AI. I was thinking to myself, why not make it possible for you guys to do the same thing, which is you can create the same kind of viral content instantly without having to be on camera, even if it's your own voice, but you're not really being disingenuous. And if you're doing it for a customer or a client as a service, this is crazy valuable, because this is the stuff that really just requires a human being to deal with Fernando. One idea can instantly become 5 things, right? It could be a viral video. It could be a long form video. It could be a short-term thing. It could be a still image. No actual camera time. You can look like, you just woke up in the morning. Short form video. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is being proven out to be a huge, huge win. Lots of my colleagues, Ryan Lee in particular, has been going on record. He's been shifting gears a million times. He keeps reinventing himself. And every time he does, he goes from 0 to like 1 million views using short form content. That is what the algorithm is rewarding right now. Short reels, short TikTok stories, Instagram stories, I should say, short YouTube shorts. My syntax is bad, but the idea is they're 30 seconds, maybe a minute at max. They are vertical. They look like they're on a phone. They also have the typing over the top. Now, I showed you the typing over the top earlier because one of the tools that's into MinuteLaunch MinuteLaunch Persona is the ability to do the subtitles, right? So I started at the beginning showing the subtitles because that's really the thing that works. When you're on Instagram or something else, it just comes through, right? It literally just comes through. Vince is doing a note to self for me. Thank you. Yes. And the titles. Let me finish this thing. I'm just going to tell my friend here on my... Okay, my friend here, if you're listening, I'm on the live show. A persona helps people identify with you. So what I've been finding is in a world of infinite AI, yes, you shouldn't do all fake personas because then nobody will really know you. But if your brand has you and somebody else, like, for example, this is the new mock-up of what's going on for MinuteLaunch, right? This is the concept of me and Fernando working together. It literally ties together my virtual persona as if it was a co-host with me. And so I'm not being disingenuous. You guys aren't born yesterday. You know Fernando isn't real, but you really don't care, because think about all of the major brands today. There's Claude, there's Gemini, there's the ChatGPT guy, there's whatever name you want. Everybody has a clever name and a character. I just arrived at MinuteLaunch has Fernando, and I wanted to make him something that I could legally, ethically, morally, and financially use. So this is how it arrived. And I can now talk about it in terms of like, there's the real person and there's Fernando. There's all the things we do together. Fernando is working inside of your site. So for example, here I'm using the new Fernando Coach from the business meeting I was at. Notice it's now Fernando Coach. When I speak to Fernando Coach, I'm able to literally talk to him like he's a real thing. If you want to name him Daphne or Tinkerer or Axel or Julie, I forgot what yours is now. It was partner, but then I think you changed it to something else. You go ahead and change it in the settings of the site, which makes this super awesome. So if I go in the back end here with a new version of Coach and his capabilities, I can set the name and the picture to whatever I want, right? So AI configuration, what's his personality? Here's the display. I'm saying Coach, and I'm giving him the name Fernando Coach. You can call him partner. You can use your own image. There's a URL here somewhere. One of these lets you set the image for him. I forgot where I put it. It's in one of these configuration images or one of these fields. But the point is, you can make them your own, right? And ultimately, the guy is going to be doing what you want him to do. If I need him to do work for me, he now has access to all my stuff. This is mobile friendly. I can ask him to build stuff, research stuff, create stuff. This new feature that I came up with today, if it's the latest version, I can, for example, take from the business meeting, create an image out of it. When I create an image out of it, I can immediately send it, share it, text it. You know, there's ways of doing work on the front end of the back end, but having this personality is, I think, where all of this goes. So it builds trust. More content, more platforms, more touch point. That's what I call, I've heard this term before from Tech Zing, a show I used to listen to called luck surface area. The more places you can touch with less work, the greater your chance of success. And I think that's what I'm trying to achieve here. You're not replacing the human. You're just giving yourself more leverage. So persona goes to social, goes to the coach. The coach can help you automatically or manually create more leads, which turns to more customers. You have no vendor lock-in, which, by the way, Anthropic is a wonderful company with ethics. OpenAI is not. It is not. It is like, it is so weirdly, OpenAI is the evil, and Anthropic, I think, is the non-evil as far as how they portray themselves, what they do. The bottom line is, what we're talking about here is a situation of, if you have a choice of doing something, you can actually own all of the things that either one of those platforms is trying to get you to do with them. They're trying to get everybody as quickly as possible locked in. Once you put enough of your stuff into their platform at their price, you become locked in per seat, per month, per token. Notice that when you're using any of these components, including when I go over here, notice down in the bottom here of Fernando is Open Router. You have built-in allocation of tokens. You can choose any of the almost 700 models, including this experiment I was running, where I was running this free, it's called Laguna M1. I'm using Laguna M1 to code a new solution just to prove how awesome it was. This will actually become a new plugin today called MinuteLaunch Interview. If I didn't just close it. MinuteLaunch Interview was a product that I built so that you guys can try this. It may be broken today, but you can try it. It's a way to have a personalized voice interview with a persona to take in a bunch of data. But the point is, in a sort of meta way, I used Fernando in the MinuteLaunch Coach with the free model of Laguna. It's free because it's normally downloadable. There's no token usage, zero. And it was so good that it coded on the first try this plugin, which with MinuteLaunch Laboratory would be a couple prompts away, and you'd be all in one, like, hi, Fernando, I want to make this thing that does this stuff. Spits it out, ready to go in a safe environment. And what this does, you can try it yourselves. It'll talk to you, and using the same tools that I just showed you, which is, I'm going to reset it. It's Fernando's voice asking 4 or 5 questions, first name, last name, email, your phone number, and then it lets you know that the interview's done. It puts fireworks on, and it saves it. It saves it into a custom contact database on the back end, which, by the way, this is a test site, so just make up information. And it'll also add it to your Fluent CRM. But the point is, all of this is done inside of the same space that for $97 a month, you can use all these tools. And none of the stuff that's made is out being used to train or profit or lock you into some other company where your bill is going to be thousands of dollars a month. The two of us will start this week to make videos where I'm going to use the actual thing, and you're going to see Fernando and I doing a podcast, maybe short form, like 30-second to a minute clips, where I say something remarkable, he says something remarkable back. We show a product, we talk about it, how it works. I'm going to literally start these from zero so we can together see whether or not my hunch works, that this will grow a channel of really interested people sheerly because we're providing the kind of stuff that gets attention today. So I did pretty well today, I think. Build your persona, own your pipeline. It starts at $97 a month. The tokens are included. I should mention, because this is awesome now, I have built in to any of these systems. When you go to your plugin manager, you will now see you've got self-service token distribution. At the API key manager inside of your one plugin that you get for free, when you sync it with a server, it will tell you how much of your monthly $5 of credit you've used. $5 goes a unbelievably long way when you're not using just Opus 4.7. I just mentioned to you, I coded this entire operation here for free. 0 tokens. And most of the stuff that I'm doing is on automatic today. So you can go crazy long distances on the $5 of allocation, and it will tell you if you run out. If you ran out, look what we've got. Throw another $5 in, $10. You can put whatever you want in there and make it recurring. I've made it so that you can self-service, recharge yourself. And this is awesome because you and your clients start out by literally just adding in the free plugin. It gives you a dashboard where you can say subscribe, or your client can. If you are an affiliate, it will be an affiliate link to you, so you will participate. $20 every month in that $97 revenue from your customer. $40 a month from your $197. $97 a month if you sell them on the $497. So you win because your affiliate referral becomes a recurring revenue source just by them doing this themselves or with your help. Explain what you mean. Like, interview would be great for onboarding and or qualifying. I'm not sure what you mean by that, so type some more, because I'm sure that's something that I agree with. What I end up doing is I end up getting customers that come in from odd places, like my YouTube videos, but I always say, have a free call with me. Notice whether you go to the MinuteLaunch pricing or not, it all basically ends up in the same spot. It ends up with like, have a call with me, right? Book your free call. I like that. But a lot of my products just sell themselves, right? They don't need anybody to call and speak to me, especially some of these newer products. And I'm looking forward to, we're finally at the place, by the way, this is the download of the plugin manager. We're finally at the place where let's see what happens. If somebody did try.new, right? This is just a zip WP. They can literally, and look how much time it takes. Add plugin, upload plugin, choose file. We still have this one thing. I can't do anything about the fact that, you know, I can't like magically make a plugin appear in somebody's WordPress site. But once they put this in, ta-da, look what they see. They've now got, by the way, for free, they've got the MinuteLaunch canvas block, which is super powerful. They've got, by the way, for free, Fernando, who's able to do publishing as well as knows everything about WordPress. He's got full media library management. He's got skills. He could do crazy stuff right now for free, right? With the microphone. So, hey, Fernando, it's Spence. Build an HTML5 web page about MinuteLaunch and use your MinuteLaunch skills to make it the style that we like, including the big, bold fonts on a black background with white and orange and gray accents. Okay. He not only knows everything about the WordPress ecosystem and MinuteLaunch and can upsell people, but there's a plans and upsell page right here that will have your affiliate link in it if you're the one that set the person up. This allows them to go to software only, self-hosted, pro, fully hosted, $497. You win on all of those. But look what he's able to do. I said MinuteLaunch, but watch this. That was free, by the way. I expand it. He's made a brand new page instantly. Okay. I could tell him to fix MinuteLaunch, but watch what I do instead. Screw it. Let's just publish. This is the free Fernando page. We'll call it Minute Launch. And by the way, I would probably install Cadence theme, but let's just not do that. And let's just use the shitty 2025 theme. Publish, done. Okay. This is why I hate 2025. So, because everything is 15 inches wide. Let's just add, and I'm probably going to build this feature in because it's so annoying to me. The 2025 sucks so bad. But okay, I'm just going to put in this. Okay. And then we're back to like some sanity, because watch what happens now. Now I just refresh the page. And ta-da! Fernando is now edited and published a page in 30 seconds for free. He's able to manage my media library. I can have a conversation with him and he can pop out on my desktop. If I tell him it's Minute Launch, LAUNCH, and it's not about food, it's about software at MinuteLaunch.com. Can you edit this for me? Okay. This is the dream come true. For free, you and your client have this installed, ready to go. And as far as what you can do next, this is all owned and controlled. All owned and controlled. Everything that he makes can be saved and shared and essentially used again. In other words, if I want to publish it, great. If I want to save this, great. If I want to create a skill, great. If I want to use the code editor, great. I can put this and use this anywhere. I can ask him questions. Do you know anything about WooCommerce plugin? Can you tell me how I can set that up step by step and include instruction images if you have them? Claude, thank you, my friend. I will see you. Claude, thank you for joining us. By the way, Claude's one of our new VIP members this week. And Lloyd's asking, yes, for qualifying, for sure. The Minute Launch interview was designed for baseball jobs overseas, by the way. It asks a series of questions so that they and their team know whether a baseball player is a good candidate. I was testing out those three things that I just discussed, which was, can I use Fernando, the free, or Fernando Coach, the one that's in the paid version, to use a free LLM to build something as complex and awesome as this and have it connect with the back end? And the answer is abso-frickin-lutely. It worked out perfectly fine. And what's interesting is this guy for free is slow because he's using the free content, the free LLM, but he's available to everybody. Like he even just timed out because I left the page. Tell me how to install WooCommerce plugin with images if able. Okay. Sometimes he has a bad connection because he's using Open Router's free connection. Coach on the front end, he's awesome because you have to pay for him. But the point I was making earlier, which is still true, is that a client can install the plugin, instantly do crazy awesome publication, management, education, and more, right? And whatever it is that they need to do, they can do for free. But when you upgrade and you go to the plugin manager, that's where it also allows them to subscribe now and sync with the server if they get their keys, right? So it's all built into one system. I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want to go too long and say, I want to say, first of all, thank you guys for inspiring me and keeping this all real. Hopefully you're starting to see the focal point of all this coming together. And I have not even shown you some of the really exciting stuff that I want to show you so desperately, because I want to stay on point per thing. But as promised, you're going to start going forward to see new channels in the socials that are created with me and Fernando, all of the production. And here's my promise, 100% of it is going to come from tools that are in the 97 or 197 or 497 package, so that you guys can know for your customers that these are the things that you can achieve. And some of the stuff requires your human intervention, which is the add-on. Like my friend Vince is really killing it now, doing stuff that he never dreamed of doing as a graphic artist, but now that he can do as a pseudo marketer, as a pseudo CRM expert, and so forth. So hopefully you're starting to see the reality. If you have not joined me as a VIP, I encourage you to do so, because the $5,000 VIP allows me to get you set up in a custom way and be in a concierge relationship. So we basically ferret out what's the best ideas you have. Many of you guys are in early stages, and hopefully I've given you inspiration. You just need to find a vertical. Dentists, doctors, lawyers, a shop owner, everybody else, like the friends I met at my North Shore meetup group yesterday. I sat at a table with 12 smart, successful professionals. Only 2 of them, my friends, my clients, are using AI. The rest of them are hypothetically talking about it, but they all know they need it. You could just basically be an AI integrator and offer this as a package, and that's good enough. It doesn't have to be more complicated. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Love you all. Thanks for your support. And I'll be releasing some stuff over the weekend via email, so hopefully you'll see it. Talk to you soon.